the hell? Holy, what was that, buddy? What was that? You recognize the juice? Oh, yeah. Well, this is promotion spray to you. Thanks for keeping it positive. No way. That truck is yours. All the ocean spray is yours. All from Ocean Spray to you, man. Congratulations. That's yours, man.
I got nothing to eat. Not even a little flour. To make a little dumpling. Crucial. Said no rice.
That's great, man.
Street. Welcome to Bourbon Street. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. No, I don't have any ocean spray with me here, but I absolutely love that story. If you're not familiar with it, Dogface, real name, Nathan Apodaca, on his way to his job at a potato warehouse in Idaho Falls. His car breaks down. He's got chronic battery issues. He's got his longboard in the back. He pulls it out, hops on an overpass there, whips out his favorite drink, ocean spray. Next thing you know, thank goodness TikTok's not been banned yet by President Trump, because it goes completely viral, to the point where Mick Fleetwood opens up a TikTok account, does his own. The CEO of Ocean Spray jumps on board and does his video. Next thing you know, this guy's got a GoFundMe, $10,000 raised. He lives in an RV with no power, with no running water. He plugs it into his brother's house, so he's got electricity. He goes inside to use their restroom, and he's raised $10,000, from just charitable acts from all around the world. He's going to give some of the money to his mom, going to give some of the money to his daughter, and all of a sudden, Ocean Spray shows up with a truck full of ocean spray, a Nissan Frontier, which he gets to keep, and fill with a year's supply of ocean spray. And literally last night, kudos to Ocean Spray. They turned that into a 15-second ad. If you're watching the Yankees game, there you go. So I think back to a few years ago when you had the blackout of the Super Bowl and the classic Oriole tweet. I think Ocean Spray and this gentleman from Idaho Falls have topped that. So kind of a fun way to start off Thanksgiving. I don't know. There's some weird cosmic connection for me. Thanksgiving, cranberries, ocean spray. So welcome to Bourbon Street. On a more serious tone this week, this year's vice president election, not election, but vice presidential debate and second in command choice has never been more important. So why don't we maybe just have a quick flashback to the much more civil debate that I saw this week and then talk about it.
Senator Harris.
Well, I mean, I thought we saw enough of it in last week's debate, but I think this is supposed to be a debate based on fact and truth. And the truth and the fact is Joe Biden has been very clear. He will not raise taxes on anybody who makes less than $400,000 a year.
He said he's going to repeal the Trump tax cuts.
Mr. Vice President, I'm speaking.
Well, wait.
I'm speaking.
It'd be important if you said the truth.
So, we've got, the sexism is unbelievable. You think about what Trump did to Hillary Clinton 4 years ago, standing behind her on stage in almost physical assault type of pose. And now, as much as the Harris-Pence debate was much more civil, much more respectful, still, you've got this complete, utter approach of, I'm not going to sit back and listen to this woman. And, this vice presidential race matters because you've got a 74 and a 77-year-old candidate. And regardless of which one wins, the odds are not high that they're going to survive the term. So one of those two people that you see on the stage could become president. And I have to tell you that I'm a little more afraid of Mike Pence than that fly that landed on his head. He's not a dumb guy. Now, he is out there, righteous and super religious, and believes that a woman does not have a right of choice over her own body, believes that people that don't want to adhere to the two and only two genders he thinks that people can be. You probably don't remember that when he was governor of Indiana, he banned same-sex bathrooms until companies threatened to pull out. Events pulled out. The NBA pulled the All-Star game out of his state. It must be interesting for him to think about who his successor is as the governor of Indiana. There's a lot to be told in that clip of what's going on. And that's why the ratings for this vice presidential debate were the highest that they've been since when Sarah Palin was running a long time ago. So you should probably have a look at this video if you want to think about what 2020 really is all about.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, can I help you?
What's your name?
Is this Postmates? Are you lost?
I must be. What's your name?
Sorry, I think you have the wrong number. Hello?
I'm pretty sure I have the right number.
Who are you trying to reach?
Tell me your name and I'll tell you mine.
That's not how this works.
Sorry, I guess I had the wrong number.
Then why did you call me again?
I like the sound of your voice.
That's a pretty lame pickup line.
I'm just a nice guy. What's that noise?
Popcorn?
Popcorn. I only eat popcorn at the theater.
I'm about to watch a scary movie at home.
Do you like scary movies?
Mm-hmm.
What's your favorite scary movie?
Ooh, probably Snakes on a Plane. What about you?
2020.
What's that about?
Well, it's about a highly contagious virus called COVID-19 that kills 1 million worldwide. Tensions rise when thousands protest police brutality. Skies turn red when California burned down. Murder hornets showed up in Washington. The president gets impeached. Did Carol Baskins kill her husband? No one will ever know. The USPS went under attack. Pentagon confirms UFO So TikTok had to sell their US distribution or they'd be shut down.
dying. To be honest, this all sounds crazy.
But I haven't even gotten to the scariest part yet.
Listen, I gotta go.
Wait, don't hang up on me. Listen to me very closely. On November 3rd, 2020, Donald Trump is re-elected.
So if you're an old school YTV fan, you might remember Rachel Bonnetta, who's now with Fox Sports 1, Canadian repping it in the U.S. sports television industry, and probably the Raptors' #1 fan. That is a scary movie. And who's the hero of that scary movie? Well, it's a 54-year-old American. Who's the 54-year-old American? It's a gentleman who was diagnosed with coronavirus the other week. And in fact, he was diagnosed twice, but he felt that it was really nobody's business to know that he had coronavirus. I mean, hey, he's just going to go out to some fundraising dinners, shake some hands, hug some old people, and maybe kiss your baby if you let him. Yes, this bit of germaphobe thought that it was okay to walk around other people and be in enclosed spaces. Next thing you know, he had another diagnosis because he happens to have a pretty good job and he can get tested, pretty well anytime he wants, day or night. As long as they're wearing the right red hat and telling the appropriate lies to the media, you can come in and test him. And after, a second test of being positive for coronavirus, he then argued with some of his colleagues and employees that no, he really shouldn't go to the hospital because of perception and images and how he'll be perceived in the public. But finally, he went to the hospital, and one night he texted a couple of his buddies, and he said, could you hotwire an SUV and we'll go for a joyride, and we'll hop in there, and you guys can wear some paper masks that are, very safe, but don't worry about the car you're hotwiring. The fact that it is completely airproof and nothing can get in, no tear gas, and don't worry, I'm sure my contagions won't impact you. We'll just go out here and we'll cruise around Pennsylvania Avenue, better known as Black Lives Matter Plaza, and we'll wave to some people. And then we'll go back to the hospital and we'll take some steroids and we'll take some therapeutic drugs and we'll ingest a little chlorine, and then we'll come out and we'll go back home and we'll triumphantly rip our mask off and we'll tell everybody not to be afraid of a disease that has killed 210,000 of your countrymen and over 1 million people globally, and has infected 7 million people from your country, and probably by the time it's done will have killed 400,000 or 500,000 people. And not only should you not be afraid of this disease, but I, the person that had this disease, I'm a 54-year-old American, because technically I'm 74, but I've never felt better in 20 years. Yes, we all know who we're talking about. The only time I've been keen on health-related age ads is when I was a kid and Participation ran these ads comparing a 60-year-old Swede being more fit than a 30-year-old Canadian. And hopefully today we probably are closer than that. But if you're looking for the star of the 2020 scary movie, look no further than the 54-year-old American. All right, enough politics. Don Mayo couldn't make it today. He's always telling me you can only rant so long about Trump. So I think I need my buddy, Eric the Jet, to join me. And we've got a few topics to cover off. So morning, Eric. How are you? Happy Thanksgiving.
For sure. Thanks for having me. And this is kind of embarrassing, but I think we wore the same thing.
Kind of embarrassing. Why is it embarrassing?
No, it's just a joke. It's good.
Well, let's actually talk about these shirts for 10 seconds. And this is unscripted, but you were the creator of these and worked on them. How is the Socially COVID tees going? And if somebody wants to find one today, maybe we can post it in the chat, get Allison to do that, throw up the URL. Allison, if you're back there listening, tell me about the shirts, Eric, because what's funny? Every Bourbon Street, I think about what do I want to wear? I was going to wear a Lawrence Park Panther coaching shirt, the school that I've had the privilege of coaching high school football at for 22 years. Because boy, I miss being on the field, and Thanksgiving always makes me feel football. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to wear it in a couple of weeks because I've actually got an article coming out in a magazine. I wrote about that. Then I was going to wear a Nike shirt I bought at the NBA All-Star a few years ago in New Orleans. It says equality. And then, I put it on, and to be honest with you, I don't know, it didn't feel right. So I just reached in this was the next one. It was like it called to me. So why did you choose your shirt this morning?
It called to me because of obviously the uptick in cases these days. I feel like obviously we created these shirts back in April and May. Socially distant tees for COVID-19. As you can see, the link down at the bottom where you can find them. And then I guess, like most people, we sort of put it in the back burner for a bit, see how this went down. But I think with the way things are going right now, it's uptick. These shirts are more relevant than ever. We're breaking records every day in Toronto and Ontario. And so if you want to just support some local charities, buy a socially distant tee for COVID-19 down at the bottom.
Absolutely. So let's spend a few minutes talking sports. I don't know what you want to jump into first, but since you mentioned uptick, why don't we go with the league that looked like it had it nailed and had, COVID under control in the last week and a half has just become a disaster, the National Football League. What is going on?
For sure. I mean, I'll admit, I thought the second the NFL started, the whole thing would explode, and it somehow didn't. Yeah. I just felt like that they for some reason they had it going, but obviously in the last 2 weeks it's gone out of control. There's 22 Titans now that have the cases. Games are being postponed all over the place. And I hear about teams talking about, I thought it's not our fault. We're following procedures, this and that. But as long as the players themselves don't do what they need to do when they're away from the team, it doesn't matter what the actual teams are doing, I think.
Well, here's how bad it is. So people need to understand the National Football League has put in some very, very tight constraints outside of the premise, where, by the way, every person, because I've had meetings with people at NFL teams, wears a tracker, which you have to wear all day. It's kind of like the a better equivalent of a kind of an anklet, a prison anklet for if a convict's out on bond or somebody's been charged. So it tells, the data tells you who you've been around, how long, et cetera, so they can manage time. But the Titans facility got closed, and outside the facility, the rules are simple. You cannot be in a place with more than 15 people at a time. You must wear masks indoors. You cannot go to a sporting event or anything. Like 15 is the magic number. So that's a tight number. Mm-hmm. Do you know what the Titans did, the players did after their facility was closed?
I do not.
They went and just borrowed, rented, whatever, a local middle school, and they held a practice.
Oh,
and so the Titans had about a dozen positive tests. Now, I think between players and staff, they're I forgot the right number. I think it's somewhere around 35 in total. I'm a big Steelers fan, as you know. Our game was moved, and now we've got this sort of very tough stretch of 3 games in 11 days. I think that there needs to be some harsher penalties. I think that if you can't get your acting gear, the Raiders went to a fundraiser without masks. Their coach is on the sideline with the mask around his neck, flaunting it. There needs to be harsher penalties, don't you think?
For sure. And I think I've seen floating around the talks of forfeits almost. If your team gets caught with this, if you're unable to play, if you have a certain amount of players, you should pay for it. Obviously, you're doing something that has resulted in this amount of players that are positive. You should be able to forfeit. This is something that's been talked around with many sports, but if it's getting this bad, especially with football, those type of penalties are what are needed, or else people won't get it. But at the same time, they're allowing thousands of people into the seats, so it's mixed messages.
Well, Trump's buddy in Florida, their Governor DeSantis, wanted to put 65,000 in for the Dolphins game, which damn well was Washington phoning Florida and saying, we want a photo app, put 65,000 in there, and the 54-year-old American will show up. But you're right. In boxing, you need to get a license at your fight. You fail your physical, you don't get to fight the match. So the same should happen in football. Yep. But tonight, let's switch sports to the NBA. We just saw Rachel Bonnett there, big Raptors fan. I know you and I are big Raptors fans, but what are your thoughts tonight on LeBron chasing legacy, what could be the end of the NBA 2019-2020 season,
longest season ever,
and ratings just in the toilet?
For sure. The ratings drop is pretty dramatic. 6.6 million people are watching each game on average in the United States. And even this has taken Adam Silver, the commissioner of the NBA, by shock. He admittedly said this is way lower than we ever thought. For comparison, the Raptors series last year, 15 million people watched per game. It was 20 million per game the year before. So dropping to 6.6 is dramatic. And I think what really stands out for me is, and it might have been ignorant on my part, before sports started, I thought, people don't have anything to do. Imagine the ratings you're going to have on sports when they come back, because everybody's going to be watching them. No one's going to be in the seats. So this is going to be a boon for revenue in this. And just think what those people who had those projections are thinking. They're not getting their revenue in the seats. They're not getting the viewerships at home. And it makes you wonder what that is.
Well, I mean, probably a couple things, right? We, by and large, do have somewhat more freedoms now. I also find my sport bio clock is struggling to get into hockey Stanley Cup in September. It's like the World Hockey Championship a few years ago. I mean, it's hard to retrain that psychology we have around this time of year. This is football season.
For sure. It's football season and baseball playoffs. It's the unnatural sports cycle, and it's throwing everyone into flux as far as just not even just their daily lives, but you have this routine. Go to work, come home, eat dinner, watch sports. And with so many playoff games in the afternoon, and having every single sports team play at the same time, that's one of the major reasons why ratings are down. I mean, the MLB playoffs have had to go up against Monday Night Football, which they normally don't do. They've had to go up against the NBA Finals. The NBA Finals have to go against people that they're not used to going up to. So I think at the end of the day, hopefully people just think it's a one-off, but you have to wonder about the future.
Well, and even this coming Monday, there's an NFL game kicking off at 5 p.m., the Broncos game, because it had to be rescheduled due to COVID. And, speaking of baseball, I know that you're a big Astros fan. So, so that little band of cheaters is just cruising along. What's going on with the Astros, man?
Yeah, so this is not the outcome that people wanted, but the Astros, everyone hates them. People throwing at them at spring training. People wanted to see them lose because they weren't cheating anymore. What are they really like? And they sucked during this year. And
Right.
everyone was they are the only team in baseball to make it without a winning record this year. They had the worst record out of all playoff teams, and everyone's thinking, here we go.
Benefited from the expanded playoffs like nobody else.
Exactly. They snuck in there on the last day, and everyone's like, okay, it doesn't matter. They're going to get blown out. They suck. All their numbers are down. What have they done? All they have is wins. Last night, they advanced to the American League Championship Series. Again, just embarrassing. And it's like they turned a switch on. But I don't get, and a lot of the other baseball players are saying, why are they upset with us for being upset with them? They cheated. Yeah. So they're coming around saying, like, they're thumbing it in everyone's noses, like, look at us, we're winning, da-da-da. Like, you don't have any right to say that. I think that's pissing a lot of people off. So, big game tonight, Game 5, Yankees-Rays, to determine who faces the Astros. Go Rays, obviously.
Oh, yeah, okay. Is that your hope, or is that your prediction?
Well, the Rays have some trickery. They're putting a starting pitcher with 2 days rest, so I think they're going to be combining Glasnow and Snell, their two best pitchers. But, I mean, I don't know. I don't like the Yankees. That's basically what I'm trying to get at here. And I really don't want to see a Yankees-Astros ALCS again. That's just like 4 times in the last 5 years.
So switching gears from sports real quickly, we've been very fortunate in Canada for our governments to step up. A big announcement this week. Maybe you can talk a little bit about the Ontario Government Event Fund, because if people out there don't know about this, they should.
For sure. The Ontario government announced yesterday they're providing $9 million to the Reconnect Festival and Event Fund. This is for community festivals to sort of maintain public safety requirements, sort of those added costs that all these festivals might need to have to produce events in this time, just sort of helping them with that and to provide opportunities for them to innovate through drive-thrus and online events and things like that. And I know I've been to a number of community events across Ontario in this job. Seen a lot of obscure ones in weird places, and I know a lot of them struggled this summer when they relied on it. So I think having this plan and providing these opportunities is so imperative to keep finding ways of engaging those and support those local art and culture sectors, because, we could be away from them for 1 year. Who knows if they come back next year when
we need them.
Everything's back.
Our society needs them. And I think I forgot to ask you across the top, so 10-second answer. Why are you the Jet?
It's because when I was younger, elementary and high school, touch football, I would always run back touchdowns from kickoffs. No one could touch me. I had like a 2-year span where I was at my peak performance.
All right, buddy. Well, good seeing you. If there's an elementary football Hall of Fame someday, I expect to see you in there with your kick return exploits.
I hope so. I'll invite you.
Happy Thanksgiving. Thanks, Eric. Just switching gears here. I've been doing a lot of different things in terms of social injustice and anti-racism. Had a great opportunity this week to be with Jillian Deacon from the CBC. She started a cool new podcast, so I'm going to give it a shameless plug, little humble brag here. I was grateful to be her first guest. And it's called The Masters of Reinvention, all about the pandemic. So have a listen. The podcast is available. Speaking about race, I saw an absolutely fascinating article the other day about a photo exhibition called Stranger Fruit. And if you know the song Strange Fruit by Billie Holiday, maybe you can show some of the pictures. This exhibition was actually started in 2019 by a photographer named John Henry. And it was all about when Black men are killed violently and innocently by police in the United States after the protests, after everything is packed up in their rooms, in their homes, the funerals are over, the mothers are left standing. They're left holding the memory of the loss of that child. And I want to read just something here from one of the moms. And these pictures were taken all around the United States. These are obviously not dead young men, but the mothers and their sons were asked to pose and think about what would it feel like. And one woman wrote, "As I hold my son in my arms, there's nothing strange about him. He is indeed the fruit of my womb, the extension of his father in me, growing, stretching, reaching to the skies. There is nothing strange about him. He is heaven in my eyes, an angel in disguise, handcrafted into a beautiful soul. There is nothing strange about him, for he is the fruit that I bared, which makes me whole. There is nothing strange about him. He is my son, he is my soul, and he is beautiful. Inspired by the Billie Holiday song, which was protesting lynching of blacks in the United States in the 1930s. You can see strange fruit in National Geographic and on John Henry's website. So, let's think about this weekend. This weekend, we celebrate Thanksgiving in Canada. And it's going to be for people of my generation, candidly, a Thanksgiving like I've never experienced and you've probably never experienced. How many conversations have you had this week talking with people about the fact that it's going to be smaller, it's going to be condensed? You know, talking about the fact that you can't travel home or loved ones that you want, they can't travel home. Talking about the fact that, you know, many of us can't hug our parents. Grandparents can't play with their grandkids. You're not going to have that fantastic Thanksgiving touch football game that cousins have played for years. All that being said, I think it's absolutely important for all of us to give thanks. And there's lots of things to find thanks for. You know, one thing that I didn't realize till it was brought to my attention this week, that we should be really giving thanks to Indigenous people for allowing us to live and celebrate on their beautiful lands. You know, I wear this shirt because I want to give thanks to those who wear masks and are sensible and keeping others safe. We should thank our friends who are looking out for us and people who are doing good deeds, like you saw with Nathan. Give thanks for the opportunity to give a good deed. Give thanks for the food you're going to eat, the wine you're going to drink, and that whipped cream you're going to lick off the pumpkin pie. Give thanks that it's not worse. It's not a war. Give thanks for the fact people are waking up to race and other issues. And give thanks that in some countries like Canada, our leaders are listening. And whether or not it's a massive Chinese spy weapon or not, let's give thanks to TikTok and the TikTok community for making the world a better place. Happy Thanksgiving.